The Southern Center plays a big role in trying to really tell the truth, like tell the truth about what's happening, tell the truth about uh, policies that are enacted that are negatively impacting our communities and that are ineffective.
We have always at Southern Center arranged representation for people who were arrested while protesting or otherwise exercising their First Amendment rights to assemble. And we started to see more arrests taking place in 2020. We saw a sharp escalation in counterinsurgency and policing tactics coming from Atlanta and the state of Georgia. It was the first time we saw the National Guard come in, etc. And when we saw the first domestic terrorism charges come down, we had already started to think about, okay, what would it look like for us to have a named project where we could actually pay lawyers?
The average person can't afford to pay for an attorney for a quote unquote regular case, let alone a RICO case. And we know that these things are going a year and a half, 2 years sometimes, right? We knew that people would not have that. And we know in Fulton County that these folks would sit without representation for months, if not years at a time.
So we developed what we call the First Amendment Lawyer Bridge. And through the Community Justice Exchange, we're able to pay lawyers really close to market rate for representing folks. And Devin has really deep relationships with members of the private criminal defense bar, as well as the public defense bar. And that has been critical in folks being willing to come along, come on board, trust that we're going to pay them, trust that we're going to train them. And so we have a training curriculum, as well as some components that we hope will make it easier for us to execute in the future, including a database and other resources, not only for the lawyers to use, but for layperson researchers, non-lawyer legal workers, and then members of the community that need the bridges services.
We were agile and nimble enough to take that we never designed it particularly for Cop City. It was always about protecting the right to protest generally. And so I know that we had conversations that dealt with the possibility of mass arrests as it pertained to abortion protests at the Capitol. The things that kind of, they've always been present, but they weren't as hyper visual at the time that had arisen with the Palestinian protests certainly rose to the top very quickly. And we were able to kind of take the infrastructure that we had in place to pair those persons arrested at the Emory protest with counsel.
During the legislative session, our First Amendment fellow, because there are all these bills, anti-protester bills, dozens of them, but, we took on maybe about 5 or 6 of them. She worked with our policy associate to draft memos and to brief members of the legislature about, the illegality of some of the legislation, the hazards of some of it. Our relationships with coalition partners have ensured that we even just have beyond the strategy, we have the financial resources to be able to support a whole nother staff person during a time when many organizations are having to cut back.